Next up, we have Tietto Minerals, who have got a fantastic project, getting lots of really good gold grades recently, lots of news flow coming out. Tietto Minerals, ASX code is TIE, Abuja in West Africa. Next gold mine, not next gold explorer, next gold mine. Joining me today is Mark Strizek. He is the non-executive director. Mark, really appreciate your time because I know how busy Tietto Minerals are at the moment. Lots of announcements coming out. For those that may not know Tietto, let's do a brief overview and then let's get into what's happening because there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Yep, Kerry, we are in Cote d'Ivoire. So Tietto was founded in 2010 by Dr. Kate Wong, who's the MD and founder, and moved across into Cote d'Ivoire in 2012. They've been exploring Liberia, and we listed in 2018. And yeah, we've been growing very, very quickly. Growing resources, we've got 3.35 million ounces of open pittable gold resources, and we released a DFS on the 5th of October. So we obviously now are looking line of sight on getting this built. So we've got a fantastic mine team. Yeah, so lots and lots happening.
All right, well, let's go through it in a logical step. In October, you released the DFS. Talk us through the numbers, what that's shown you, what are the economics, and why you're so confident about the next steps.
Yeah, so look, it was a big jump from our PFS from April, and we completed just on, I think it was around about 35,000 metres of diamond drilling that went into that new resource model. And it did exactly what it was meant to do. So a very, very strong gold production. In the first year, we had 260,000 ounces. And from years 1 to 6, we've just got about 1.2 for that average of 200,000 ounces. So 11-year mine life. The back end needs a little bit of work, but we believe there's a lot of exploration upside to do that. But very, very strong 6 years. And I think importantly, when we looked at the financials on it as well, it is looking very, very healthy. We've got, we provided some numbers there at 1,700, and you were looking at, in terms of NPVs, just under $1 billion. So, very, very healthy, and importantly, it's also very robust. The break-even gold price grade was about $940. CapEx is 200 mil. That includes continuous.
That's what I was going to ask. The 200 mil CapEx. What does that take into account? Is that the mill? Is that everything that you need to get going to get mining?
Yeah, look, it is everything, and there's around about $24 million worth of contingency in that as well. We've probably spent just on about $9 million US already out of that, so the number's coming down. We've purchased our own mill. That's currently in Johannesburg. It's with NCP in Johannesburg, and it will be ready for delivery to site in February next year. So that was getting that off the critical path, and we were really lucky. We'd recently appointed a guy called Matt Wilcox who built Sanbrado for Richard Hyde, and was running the tender process, and it happened to be a mill never ever used. So Kerry,
never used this mill. So it's not like a second-hand mill. It's never been used. How'd you get your hands on it?
Yeah, so look, it helps having someone like Matt on board that knows where to kind of shake the tree, so to speak. And this thing just had been, I believe, had been bought by a major, normal thing, just sitting there, never used. So it'll be delivered to site with a brand new mill warranty. And the thing with this mill is it's really under stressed. So for the study we use 4 million tonne per annum, but it's got a lot of mill capacity, and based on what Matt's built for Sanbrado, the plants that go in West Africa tend to have at least about a 20% upsize on it, and it could well be running at 5 million tonne. It looks pretty good. There's a fair amount of upscale that's been built into this plant.
Look, I have to congratulate Kagan and yourself and the other members of the team, because you listed in 2018. You've been, a lot of people will be exploring and developing and figuring things out for many, many years. Here we are coming up to the end of 2021, and you're looking to get into production next year. Is that correct?
Yeah, the end of next year, exactly.
So let's talk about how the funding. We've got CapEx of 200 million. You've got about 30 million in the bank, I believe, which is a nice place to be. But how are we going to look at funding this?
Yeah, so we did put out an announcement early last week, and talking. So there's a lot of interest from debt, the conventional bank finance, the credit funds, you could call them. So we've got a full suite there, and we're just working our way, looking at number one, who can try and keep up with Tietto, because we do move very, very quickly. And I think that's really the key. Is that as we look at this, it's being able to bring a plant into production. Is an incredible value uplift for shareholders. So, okay, we're very pragmatic. Sometimes arguing about a couple of 100 basis points, just get the thing built, and that's been guiding our philosophy as you outlined before. It's always been about trying to deliver. Ultimately real value for shareholders. And I think to do that, we got to a critical mass with the resource. And because we've got our own drill rigs, we continue to explore. But the thought really was, let's move this into production. And we've seen what fantastic success that strategy was for someone like West African. It's an incredible uplift you get from being a gold producer. And we've also got a lot of exploration upside.
Yeah, and your share price has been nice and strong. What do you think makes you different? We've got a lot of investors on the conference today, a lot of them looking at all the different options and what they should do. And I've often spoken about how when the gold price gets stronger, which it looks like we're just starting, what do you think makes Tietto stand out from the rest? Because I would suggest that you're not mucking about. One of the things that you briefly mentioned there, that you've got your own drill rigs, you're not bringing in contractors, you actually bought them, which brings your drilling costs down, which gives shareholder value. But what do you think is getting you to get on with it so quickly?
Yeah, look, it's the philosophy. We've done this before, and I think really seeing it. You see companies that get on with it can create wealth very quickly. I think that's important. Obviously, look, continuing to drill and explore, that's part of our DNA as well. But we're focused right from the start. I think when Kagan first got to site, he always tells the story about there had been some artisanal workers there, and because he's a mining engineer, and he goes, this is a gold mine. Pick the ground. And started doing that exploration, and it's gone very quickly. I think definitely we're all shareholders in it, and having short arms and deep pockets, we don't like. We really want to try and maximise the value from exploration, and obviously now as we start to look at building a plant and producing, this thing is going to throw out a lot of cash. And I think that's what's really exciting is as we're kind of looking, and it's very early days, but you can see the opportunity with some of the ground that we've got outside of Abidjan. Where does our next one come from? So
that's what that was going to be my next thing. You spoke about an 11-year mine life with the current plan and what you've got in place for throwing off a lot of gold, as you said before. But how much you, I guess not in percentage terms, but what focus is on? Let's get the mine built and let's start to get the revenue in, and how much focus is on exploration and other opportunities?
Yeah, look, we'll be we'll be working with this strategy of doing build plus explore, and that's the advantage. Our rigs are much cheaper than everyone else, so we can logically. We can do it. So next, the plan, if everything goes as we have laid out, we'll be continuing to explore around the Abidjan district. We're looking at, say, within 10-kilometre trucking distance, to add open pittable resources, and also drilling underneath the core as well. It's open at depth. Our deepest hole is down about 720 metres down a hole, so it gets us 650. So we'll see what's down there, So we've got the guys, the rigs will be looking to try and get down to about 700 meters vertical, and we can do it because our rigs are very, very, our drill costs are very cheap. And,
what are your drill costs? About $35 a metre, wasn't it?
Yeah, 35. I think for the deeper ones, it probably works out about 50, but we're averaging 35. To put that in context, to think about drilling, say, a 700 or 800 metre hole with a contractor in West Africa, you're probably $200, $250, $300 a metre. And it adds up very, very quickly. And that's really the key for us, is that we have been able to continue to explore very, very aggressively, 100,000 metres a year, and without draining the bank balance. It's an incredible competitive advantage.
What are the challenges for those people out there that might be saying, well, it's West Africa, it's Abuja. What's that like as a jurisdiction to work in? Have you got teams of people that you can get easily, staff, contractors, etc., to get up and running? And from a safety point of view, what's it like to work over there? From an investor point of view, because jurisdiction quite often comes into the mix when people are looking for opportunity.
It does, and Cote d'Ivoire is, it is really a great place to work. You can think of someone like Perseus. They delivered 2 mines, and Yare most recently coming on stream is about 150 k's to the east of where we're sitting. So it's been a country where we've seen gold development. We've also got Endeavour as well with Ity, and there was up in the north there's Barrick, they've been Randgold. So it's a case that, and the opportunity was there that, look, they did have what they call the crisis, and that was, it's been over 10 years now. And that is where the opportunity came for Kagan to be able to pick up ground, make great connections, getting in there early. And, look, it's really, it's quite interesting. When we were doing the ESG, the baseline surveys, and Matt picked this up, is that the level of literacy around still living in villages is quite high compared to a lot of typical countries. I know when we were talking to the guys from Perseus, they were getting, they had no real issues, getting a good skilled workforce. So that's the key, is that, there's a young, dynamic workforce that looking for opportunity. So, and we've supported very strongly by the government. So they'll be our partners in this project. They get a 10% free carry. And through the process that we started last year, in terms of the approvals and so on, it was being managed very. The government is a partner, and they provided a lot of assistance in organising meetings with local stakeholders and so forth. So it's really, look, it is a great place to work. There's good power. The food's really nice.
Haven't been out there, so I wouldn't know. But Mark, one of the things on everybody's lips at the moment is the good old ESG, the environmental, social governance, and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Is how important is that to you? And also on the renewable side, are you looking at different ways of mining in a sort of a greener environment, I guess?
Yeah, so look, in terms of green power, comes from hydro in Cote d'Ivoire. So straight away, that works very well for us. In terms of ESG, look, we've got a very, very strong component in terms of the majority of our workforce are all Ivorians, and they always have been, and they will continue. So we've got a full range now in terms of appointments as we've moving towards operations really, in terms of appointed a new manager, and he's probably been on the site now for about 4 months or so, with experience in mining. And look, I think it's one of the keys. The one we like to point is the United Nations Sustainable Guidelines. Number one, no poverty, providing opportunity, providing investment. I think there's around about 12 guidelines, and they're the type of things that are definitely worth looking at. And this is where we provide a lot of opportunity. Obviously, we're looking for for our shareholders to come out with some wins on this. But in terms of direct employment, indirect employment, taxation, royalties, transfer of skills, and so forth, it really is a win-win, and that's why the government is very supportive of developments. When in Cote d'Ivoire there's so much opportunity for more new discoveries with the broom and greenstones. They have more than their neighbours, and it's sat fallow there as a result of the crisis. But now their GDP has been growing around about double digit year on year. Mining is only, and this is where it's always good if you're never the biggest game in town. So mining is only 2% of GDP, and the government wants to try and take it about 4%.
Right.
You've got cocoa, coffee, and also cacao as well. So that's a big industry. Abidjan, I mean, for example, our country manager, his wife runs a software company. I think people's
perception
of Africa's changing. It's everyone has a mobile phone, and they're outward looking and looking at opportunity. And I think the Ivorians are very lucky compared to some of somewhere like Burkina, which has delivered many gold mines, but the weather here is much nicer. It's a nice place to operate. It's got good infrastructure, dual lane sealed highways. Quite often you fall asleep and you think you could be back in Australia when you wake up. It's
wow. Well, actually, speaking of that, speaking of sort of the infrastructure and the like, with your project, how much infrastructure do you need to put in as part of this getting the mine operational?
Yeah, so there's a couple of points. Obviously, tailings dam, we need to put in that, and we have some what's called a little diversion channel. There's a wet season creek. Probably the bigger piece, one of the other bigger pieces. Obviously we need to build a camp and a plant, but a power line. So there's a 34 kilometre connection. That's all been surveyed. It's been tendered. We got steel on water. And the government is very, very supportive as well, because it opens up a new corridor of power at 90 kilovolts. So there's where we are, we're ideally located. We're about the middle of the country. We're close to the third largest town called Deloa, which is a big agricultural centre as well. Well supported in terms of infrastructure, skills. And Abidjan's got one of the largest deep water ports in West Africa, so easy to get stuff. And that was one of the keys, looking at getting all the equipment to the site. We drive past Yare, they're able to build that. And if you keep going past us, you've got Eddie and they're able to build that. So it's almost like Goldilocks. It's just right. Okay,
well, listen, this is an investor audience, Mark, so I want to get back very briefly. We've only got 2 minutes left. Let's get back into the investment thesis and your share price. For those of you that saw Tietto speak at the last virtual gold conference, you would know that the share price has had a nice little run since then. Where do you see the investment, the value now going forward for investors?
Yeah, so look, Kerry, number one, getting this built, when you look at the analogies of companies that were in the same position as we are now, and if you take that, say, a 20-month timeline, so maybe a bit longer term, the uplift is quite incredible. So that's where I would say, there's that. I mean, obviously, on the other hand, investors may be looking for shorter term requirements, and with the exploration that's continuing as well. So that's another area where as we're looking for our new targets, new resources, new growth there, that there's plenty of opportunities, because our rigs won't stop working. They drill right through the year. And we drill 100,000 metres a year. So plenty of news flow on that. And obviously, where we're at now, getting this funding and so forth locked away, we think we're very confident that we'll be able to do that. And that takes some of that uncertainty away as well.
When do you think the funding might be locked away? You mentioned it, so I'm going to bring it up. When do you reckon that might be locked away?
Look, we're working, quickly. I think the way we've done everything else, it will be a lot quicker than what people think. It's very much we do go very, very quickly. So I think definitely got to keep up with the news flow, because it could creep up on us sooner than we think. Definitely what we're working to try and achieve.
Well, I have to say, Mark, as I said right at the beginning, Tietto Minerals is not letting the grass grow under their feet. They are literally going to be producing next year nice high grade mine, plenty of exploration upside. And with the gold price on the rise, I think it's one to watch. ASX code is TIE. Mark Strizek, Non-Executive Director, thank you so much for joining us at the Virtual Gold Conference. And we'll see you later in the networking room if anyone's got any questions. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Kerry. Cheers.